Hello, this is Douglas Robinson, and I am a solutions consultant with Beyond 20, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to download a new version of Cherwell and install it on your local machine. Now, first we're going to need to go to the Cherwell customer support portal. You can do that by typing in to your address bar in your web browser, cherwellsupport.com, and you will automatically be redirected to the Cherwell customer support portal. Then you'll need to sign in using your Cherwell support portal credentials. So I'm going to sign in as Beyond 20. Now, once you've signed in, you should see at the bottom of the screen information regarding the latest update of Cherwell. Now, they're releasing a monthly maintenance release for Cherwell every month. And also they'll be releasing minor releases on a quarterly basis and then major releases every year. So you should be able to figure out whether or not it's going to be a minor release or a maintenance release based on how long it's been since the last version that's been released. Once you've logged in, go ahead and click on the Downloads button, and you'll be directed to a screen where you can download the latest version of Cherwell Service Management, or you could also select a different version if you needed to. This is useful if they've released a couple of different versions since the last time you've upgraded and you know that you want a specific one, such as 8.1.1 or 8.1.2 rather than 8.1.4. But generally we'll always be going to the newest release. So after you click on that version of Cherwell to download, you'll get a new download button. Cherwell does have a separate object set up here so you can download a new version of Cherwell, and that's just so that they can track how many downloads are being done. So we'll just click download, and we'll get redirected to Cherwell's current version document repository. And then if you click on this, you'll be able to download a new version, or you'll be able to download the most recent version of Cherwell, and you'll see it you'll see your web browser start to download it. Now, I already have the installation files for Cherwell 8.1.4 on my desktop, so I'm going to go ahead and open those up. Essentially, you'll just be downloading a zip file that'll show up as Cherwell disk image hyphen your language and then the version, and inside of that you'll have a Cherwell disk image hyphen your language folder. Inside of that you'll see the current release notes, which you can open up in the PDF viewer of your choice. And you can scroll through these and you can see not only the current release notes for the version or the maintenance release that you have, but you'll also see release notes for every other maintenance release previous to it, going back to the last minor release. So since this is 8.1.4, I can see the fixes for 8.1.3, 0.2, 0.1, and then I can see the enhancements and fixes back to the minor release of 8.1.0. After you finish reviewing the release notes, you can start the Cherwell Service Management installation package or the installation application, and this will give you the options to install your new server applications and your portal and browser applications. I'm going to start with the server. And then we'll see the installation prompts for installing Cherwell, or for installing the new Cherwell server applications. So I'm going to click Next. I need to accept the terms in this license agreement. And then you'll need to just verify that the username and organization that are entered in here are correct. For reference, I don't believe these are used anywhere throughout the system, but install Shield wizards like this one usually ask for a username and organization. You'll select which folder you're going to install Cherwell server applications to, and then you're going to choose whether or not you're going to configure a new demo database, import a new starter database, whether you're going to upgrade an existing database, or if you don't want to load any data at all. Now, the difference between the last two, where you'd be upgrading an existing database and not loading any data, would be, upgrading an existing database. That's going to take a database that you have and it's going to upgrade it to the newest version that you're installing. Not loading any data will install all the server applications for you, but it won't make any changes to any of the database connections that you have. I'm going to upgrade the existing database that I have. Then you'll have the options for installing which Cherwell applications you want to install. You can enable or disable these. As well, you also have the option to configure your application server as a service or IIS. After you've done all of that, you can install Cherwell, and it should take roughly a minute or so for that installation to complete. And then once that's finished, we'll be able to start our installation for the Cherwell browser apps. Should be just another moment until this is finished. Alright, now that I've reached the end of the installation process here, it's going to ask me which connection I need, or which connection I'm using that I want to upgrade to the newest version, and then it's going to let me know that it needs to be upgraded. So I'm going to press OK, and then I'm going to be prompted to sign in, because you will need administrator credentials to upgrade that database to the newest version. Now that that's complete, I get a message on my Cherwell server installation wizard that will let me know that it has finished. And now I can install the Cherwell portal and browser apps. Now, you do not need to install the two of these in any specific order. They are independent of each other. I just usually install the server first and then the portal and browser apps. Also, while you're installing these applications, the installer will go through and clear out your Cherwell Service Management installation directory prior to installing the new files. So if you had anything special in there that you needed to keep, it may be deleted as part of the installation. Now that I've gone through my browser apps install, we can see that we have the option to install either the Cherwell portal, the browser client, auto deploy, the web service and API, and also the web forms. It's important to note that Cherwell does not, by default, check this box for Cherwell web forms. And the reason for that is it takes a bit of extra configuration to make web forms secure. Essentially, if you're configuring web forms, then whatever user account you've configured web forms for, users can just log into your Cherwell system and interact with records by constructing a web forms URL. So they are trying to push people away from using web forms. So if you needed those, you could check web forms here, or you could leave it unchecked. I'm not using web forms for anything. However, one major area that you would need web forms for would be if you were using Cherwell's password reset functionality, or if you were using the password reset map for Cherwell. That does definitely depend on web forms, but other than that, they're generally not used anymore. I'm going to click Next. You do get the option to either update auto deploy if this is a configuration that has auto deploy configured on it, or you can choose not to update auto deploy. I'm not going to do that because that's something that I will do later. And then also you get to choose which directory you're going to save the installation files into. This also will take a couple of minutes to finish installing. And then afterwards you should be able to connect back into your Cherwell system as you normally would. A good consideration that you'll need to make before you do this installation is that all of your users will have to update their client applications to match Cherwell. So if you have an auto deploy configured, you'll need to reconfigure it and then make sure that all the settings on it are correct, and then all of the users will have to, usually the next time they try to connect, they will be prompted to download the newest version of Cherwell from your auto deploy setup. And of course, if you are upgrading to a new version of Cherwell, you will want to test it out thoroughly on a dev server or a separate local server of Cherwell. You definitely don't want to just upgrade your production system of Cherwell to a new version without doing any testing on it. That way you can go through and verify that everything that's critical to your business is still working correctly, because occasionally there can be a few things that do get configured differently as part of your installation, but it should be a mostly seamless process. Alright, it looks like our install wizard has completed. Now that we've finished here, we can close out of the Cherwell installation application that we have right here. They do have an option to just install the client application, but you do not need to do this if you have installed the server, as it does install the supporting applications like the client and the admin tool onto your machine. But there is a separate option here to install just the client if for some reason you have the full Cherwell installation file somewhere and you need to install a client rather than installing them from the auto deploy tool. So I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to open up Cherwell and connect to my Cherwell system. And we can see up here at the top of our connection manager here that we have Cherwell Service Management 8.1.4. Prior to installing this new version, I had been using Cherwell 8.0.2, and if I try to connect here, I should be able to log in using this new version of Cherwell, which is 8.1.4, which at the time of this recording is the current version of Cherwell. And now I've been able to log in. This has been an instructional video. If you'd like to see other videos like this one, feel free to check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/beyond20llc. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments section below.